guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Ender 3 V2 and the issue that we're having with the printer is the fact that on the back, on the left hand side, right at the back is the on and off switch, which sits right behind this cable loom, and obviously it is quite difficult, you know, to switch the machine on and off. As you can see, you have to fiddle right there at the back to try and switch it on, and then obviously if you want to switch it off again, you know, once you've been working here, you have to go right at the back to try and switch off the machine. So my idea today would be actually to try and see, is there a way that one can actually bring that switch for the on and off position forward. And if we look at the front of the machine, the best place probably to put it would be on the right hand side, just next to your control screen. Obviously the left hand side is closed up, so the best position would be to make a blanking plate here, print a new one, and then have a little switch sitting here in the front. And then obviously the cables, the idea is to have the cables go right through this extrusions right to the back. And then actually what the idea would be is that on the back side, you can see I've already opened up the extrusions. Oops. So the idea would be to have another blanking plate here, and the actual idea of this whole build will be not to interfere with the existing cabling of the machine. So if I unplug this kettle cord, you will actually see that what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be plugging in another kettle cord here. We will have the cable run down here. It will go into this extrusions right to the front, to the switch, and then come back from the switch, and the new plug-in for your power cord, the kettle cord plug, will come out on this side, and you will actually have it sitting here where you then plug your power supply in on this side, so that your power can then go in from here to the front of the switch, come back, go out into here, and then this switch we will then permanently put that on. But the best part of this whole configuration is that we do not have to fiddle with the inner workings of the actual machine. The benefit to that as well is that in case your machine is under warranty, you will ultimately not affect your warranties, because your wiring is not you know, going to be that intrusive or invasive. So it will be basically something that you can quickly undo should you wish to do so. It's literally going to be another kettle cord that's going to plug in here, and we're going to have a cable running down here into here, through to the switch, coming back from the switch into a new kettle cord plug, and we will then just basically plug this into that this kettle cord plug into the new one. So yeah, that's the gist of it. I think let's get going. Let's get the build done and see how it works. Okay, so before we start this build, I would just like us to run through the materials that we're going to be using in order to build it. So starting off with the switches, you will see we've got three different types of switches here. It's a red, blue, and another blue, of which two are rectangular and the one is a round shape. This is the type of switches that I managed to get locally here by us. All of them are double pole single throw switches. I will explain later on why exactly are we doing double pole single throw, but I think out of these ones, you know, I like the round one a bit more. Obviously all of them can fit into the actual extrusion that we have here, that gap, so you just have to measure it. I've measured it in a roughly about, I think, 12.9 by 12.9, call it 13 mil by 13 mil. So the round one will fit perfectly, or the rectangular, it's up to your liking, but I like the round one, so I will go with that. So we'll put the rectangular ones aside. So that's our switch. Obviously with the switch we're going to be using these lugs that will also fit onto them when we actually do the cabling, which I'll also explain a bit later how we're going to do that. And then we've obviously got our kettle plugs, because like I was indicating, the purpose of this build is not to fiddle with the actual wiring of the printer. We're going to leave everything intact. We're literally going to be taking this female plug, and we're going to be plugging that right back into the back of the printer, From there will be a cable that comes to the switch, the others on the one side. The other side of the switch will then come out, and it will go into this male. So as you can see, it's a male kettle plug. It will go into there, and your actual female power supply will then plug into the male, and that will then give us power, which then will bring the power in through the extrusion. The cables will run on the inside of this extrusion. It will come to the front, to the switch. It will come in, let's say, at the bottom, and it will go out at the top, or vice versa. We'll see how we're going to do that, and then basically run back into your kettle cord on that side. And then obviously what we will do as well is that we just need to make sure that we still need to take the earth through all the way as well. So we'll just do that as well. But basically, ultimately, the earth doesn't have to get interrupted, so that will just be a straight cable in and out. But that leaves us with the kettle plugs, and then obviously the cord. We've got I'm just trying to see what size cord do I have here. It's a 1mm squared. This is obviously rated for 220 volt here in South Africa, but you obviously have to check wherever you're doing your build that you have a sufficient cable size rating, as well as rated for voltage and amperage. But in my view, and based on the checks we've done, a 1 square mil should be more than sufficient for this build. So yeah, that's basically what we'll need. The rest of the parts, like I said, the front cover caps, that we will design a bit later. That will hold the actual switch, and then there will be another one at the back where your male kettle plug would sit. We're still looking at ideas. I just want to put this to the side quickly, just to show you guys. So at a given moment, I'm going to take that. I'm just going to turn the printer so you guys can see. But basically your male, so I've opened it up, so your male plug has to sit somewhere either here, or it has to come out here and then lie you know, at the back of your printer, so that you can take actually your power supply and physically plug it in. So the idea that we have is that there's a couple of ways you can do this. My thinking is that possibly to mount it like this, but doing that would mean that the cable has to come out here, go around, and then, you know, the bends on this becomes quite strict. You can put it this way as well, but then you have interference with your print bed. You can possibly look at something like this, where your cable then comes out, goes right in there, and then your power supply comes in from that end. But I think the best at the end of the day is going to be, we'll just take the cable, we'll extend it a bit more, we'll let this male plug lie here, and we can then just literally plug this in, because it's not like we're going to be unplugging in and unplugging this thing on a daily basis. So we can actually do it that way. It is a temporary bolt for in case you need to remove it. You can do that without having any damages to your machine. So yeah, I think what we'll do as well, we're going to go now offline. I'm going to quickly prepare all the cables. I'll come back before I install anything, and I'll show you guys how I've cut the cables, what lengths we've done, and how we've done it, and then we continue from there. Okay, cool. So we're back. So as I said, we're gonna be looking at how to measure the cables. So what we've done is that from the front here to the back, we've laid the cable along the printer here, and I've added another 150 millimeters of cable on the back side here, and that is where your kettle plug will come out, your male, so that your female can plug into that. So then the power will go in to the front switch, and then from the front switch it will go back, and then it will go back into where the current power supply is plugged in. So with the power plugged out, what we're going to do as well is we'll be adding some zip tie supports here, just to keep this cable that's running on the back side of the printer supported here, and then you will plug your cable in here. So the longest cable we'll actually have is the one coming right from the front, from here on the left hand side, running through all the way here, coming out, and then running along here into the back plug socket. That would be your longest. and then your shorter piece would be the one coming from the front switch all the way out here with the 150mm added here. So this cable length I've measured, I've made it up. It's 450 millimeters long, and then the longer one going into the back here is 690 millimeters long. And basically ultimately what the cables look like are basically something like this. So this is your short piece. You'll see I've actually already connected it up. So you've got your live, you've got your earth, and you've got your neutral, and this is already connected up to your male plug. I've just left it open so you guys can see the connections, and then I've added these lugs to the live and neutral. And what we're going to be doing as well is that this earth wire of ours, I'll explain that very shortly. I'm just going to get the longer cable as well. So this is your longer piece of cable that you can see. It's considerably longer than the other one. So you can see from the length in the two different cables. So with the longer one, this is now your female. Again, same story. You'll see actually, I just want to point something out to you. If you look at the male and the female, your neutral is on the right hand side, whereas with the male, the live is on the neutrals on the right hand side. The reason for that being is that when you plug it in, you've got live to live and neutral to neutral, and then the two earths in the middle. So that's the only thing you need to keep in mind when you do these connections. But basically you've got your live now on the left hand side, you've got your neutral on the right hand side, and you've got still your earth in the middle. And basically what we'll be doing is that for now, like I said, this cable ultimately is going to feed into the printer like that. We will then have a slight bend on it. It will run something like this. It will then turn into the printer and then go to the front to ultimately get to where the switch is. So it's going to look something like that. We're going to just obviously close it up now so that we can have it closed up, and then obviously this one will come right from the front basically out this way. And ultimately what we're going to be doing as well is that we need to obviously keep the earths connected straight through. So all that I'm going to be doing is that I'm ultimately going to be connecting these two earths together. I will use a little zip tie to connect these two cables with a cable tie or a zip tie together to keep them in place so they don't move around too much. That way I will then also ultimately connect these two parts together, and then what I will do as well is once they are connected together, we'll just put a piece of heat shrink tubing. I've got the clear ones, but you can use any type of heat shrink tubing. I will then basically take that, put it over the earth, and then yeah, we'll close that up so we don't have any open connections inside of the printer, having a shock risk to ourselves. And then basically what's going to happen is that your live and your neutrals. So if we quickly have a look, what we're ultimately going to be doing is so that if this is now our our input cable, ultimately what we're going to be doing is you're going to be having your, let's say, live at the bottom, and you will have your neutral also at the bottom, but on the other side. Let me just plug it in quickly so you guys can see. Something like that. Okay, so that's how this is how your one cable will go in. So you'll have your live and your neutral, and then effectively we'll be doing exactly the same. I just want to twist this cable around so that you can see we have those sides facing inwards, and then we will ultimately have the same connections here. Something like this. Obviously it's quite tight. And then that's basically how you will have it. And then, like I said, we will just take the two earths and we'll connect them together there, and we'll put a piece of heat shrink on them. We will have a zip tie on this side, and then basically all your cables will run like this out here. This is where your power will come in, and this is ultimately where your power is going to go back into the printer, and then we can switch this on and off. And what we will also do is that we will put the switch with the 1 in the up position, because the current switch is also to switch it on, you switch it upwards, and to switch it off, you switch it downwards. But you know, it's up to you guys how you want it. If you want, you can also switch it, turn this whole switch around so that it's like that. It doesn't really matter. But that's basically your whole setup. This is what you need in order to convert you know, this power switch from a back switch to a front switch without having to you know, modify your whole printer and fiddle with your actual wiring and going into the circuit boards of the printer. So this is my version of it. I don't know if there's someone else that has got other ideas. There is a couple of ideas on the internet, but this is just my idea. So ultimately what I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to be feeding this thing through the actual aluminium extrusion here to get it, all the cable coming out the front. And then once it's basically done, I'll come back, I'll quickly show you a setup, how I've done it, and then let's test it and see if it works. So what we've done is that you'll see we've pushed these cables through the aluminium extrusion. So just wanted to point out to you where your horizontal and your upper vertical gantry meets. There's a few bolts here that restricts your access when you push these cables through. So what I've done is I've just taped on both the cables, I've taped the ends together, and once your cables are through, we can just actually remove this insulation tape, which will then give you your cables exposed again. Alright, so there you've now got your cables exposed again. So as I explained earlier, we're now obviously going to connect your switch. Now one other thing I want to mention was, so earlier remember I mentioned that I was going to design and reprint the whole cover plate that's going to fit you in the front. So ultimately what I've done is that when you look at this actual switch, you'll see it's got a little lip on the side, and then it's got your two, call it lips, that's going to hold the switch in place. So what I've basically done is, I'm not sure if you guys can see it so clearly, but I've basically I've got 1, 2 and another third lip here. So ultimately what's going to happen is that when we push the switch through, we must just make sure that this little lip on the side is orientated to that lip on that side, so that when you push it through, you actually, oops, now it twists. Just push it through. There we go. So now basically it lines up and it ensures that your switch cannot rotate. And now your switch, your switch is sitting inside this closing up blanking plate. And what we can do now is like I said to you guys, it's up to you to decide how you want to place your switch. I'm going to place mine in the direction that it's shown now, so that when you want to switch it on, you switch it upwards. But if you do want to decide you feel better having it downwards, it's up to you. But I'll have it going up, and then ultimately we just make sure that it's in that orientation with the one going up, so that when we connect our cables now, then obviously, you know, it is fine. I'm just going to turn the printer so I can show you guys. So obviously this cable that I've got now is the power that's coming in. We're going to bring the power that's coming in at the top. So now what we'll do is we just need to twist these cables. Let's do it this way. Right, so now we will have our live going in at the top. Alright, there we go. It's a nice and right fit. Then we will have our neutral coming in on the right hand side. That's the right hand side, that's the left hand side, also on the top. And then basically what we need to do is we'll keep that out the way for the earth now. We'll take the other cable that's going to go back to your printer now, that's going to go plug in on the printer, and we will obviously just match the colors up. So you've got your live and you've got your neutral. So we'll just make sure, again, I don't know if you guys can see, but on the lug, the back of the lug, I've got it pointed inwards, and that side as well. So the two backs are pointing inwards. It just makes the fitment of this so much easier. So we'll quickly fit the live onto the switch. Press that in. Okay. And then we'll do the same with your neutral. Push that in. Alright, perfect. So now what we need to do is we now just need to make sure that these two earths are connected together, and then we will put a little bit of heat shrink over them. So I'm just going to join them like this, twist them. You can probably solder them as well if you want. I know there's a couple of guys that don't like soldering because obviously they feel that, you know, if this thing ever heats up that it's going to melt. But yeah, we can probably have a solder. This is my piece of clear heat shrink tube, so I'm going to just put that over that, and I'm just going to make use of a little lighter where I will then try and heat shrink this. Okay. Right. So it looks like it's properly heat shrinked. Okay. And now you can basically either bend this back or you can just leave it like that. I'm just gonna keep it like this. So obviously now we just need to make sure that our switch is orientated in the right direction. Like I said, at this given moment, this is where you can swap them around. You can either have the 0 at the top or then the 1, but in my case I'll have it like that. We just line up and we basically make sure that it's properly pressed in, and that's it. So now our little switch is sitting on the front now, and now we're going to turn the whole printer around. Put that aside. We can put this aside. Okay, so this is the other cover that I've designed. I've split it in two just to make the installation part of it much easier. So this hole is sized according to the size of your cable, your 1mm cable that you have. And then basically what's going to happen is we'll put that for now to the side. But once we're now done, and look, obviously this side is already done, and this cable is now just going to go into its position. But like I explained, we've now pushed that cable in there, and then we're just going to, what you'll see on the actual printer as well, and I'll share the link to this as well, we've got these little cable tie what do you call it, holders, where we'll put the cable ties through and then clip this on. This is a design that I've picked up from Thingiverse. It's a design, I'll share the link to on Thingiverse to where I got this, but I basically just utilized that print from Thingiverse. I've printed two of these, and on my printer I've glued them permanently in place. Well, I hope at least permanently, but I've used proper super glue. If it's a new printer and it's still under warranty, you guys can maybe make use of double-sided tape on the back of these, so that obviously should you ever need to have them removed and then remove the double-sided tape, it's much easier. But basically I'm just going to have this cable running this way now, and then obviously cable tie it together. And then with that, I think before we do that, let's put the blanking plate on here as well, make sure everything is in order, and then we will do the cable tie, or of the cables as well. So what we can do is, you can also have this, you can either have it fitted like that, upright in a vertical direction, or horizontally. I think for ours we can fit them probably horizontally, or maybe we must do it vertically. I don't know what you guys think, but I think let's do vertical. So then we'll effectively have this, and we will have the other one on the other side. Maybe I'm gonna start with the inner one. Okay, and then we can put the outer one on. They are quite a bit. Here we go. Right. Okay, that one's in place. And now this one's in place as well. Perfect. So now that's closed up. So I'll just quickly pick it up again. So now you can see we've got a proper nice close fit here. So this is where my power will come in, and this is where my power is going out to the printer. And then I've got my cable ties, and effectively I'll just push it through around the cable. And obviously I'm not going to tighten them now, because we need to have a look at, you know, avoiding too much stress on the cables. Look, like I explained, it would have been beneficial to actually have the cable coming in at a 90 degree here, to put less stress on the cable. But unfortunately I couldn't get that, so that's why I used the inline one. But basically what's going to happen is that, you know, with the inline one, we'll just put the cable ties through, and then it's just a bit difficult to do it that way. So what we'll do is we'll put the cable tie through. Okay, and now we'll just take the cable, line it up, so that we try and avoid too much stress on the cable. And we'll do it this way, and we'll do it like that, and it's basically that. So now we can take our side cutters, we can just cut these long ones off, and now that's effectively what your whole build will look like. So you will have that cable coming in, this is your cable coming out, goes to the switch, goes through the switch, it comes back to your cable in, where you're now going to plug your power supply in. And for all intents and purposes, I've switched this on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the printer around, and we are going to fetch our incoming supply. We're just going to make sure that this side is off in the front. So if we plug it in now, we should be fine. We can now turn the printer around, and if we switch this on now, you can actually see before I switched it on, there's in actual fact an LED that glows here. So I just want to see if we switch it on, and there's the printer, it works. So this little LED is actually remains on. I wonder if it's not, I'll check it out, but I wonder if it's not because of the way that I've connected it, based on the side where the LED might be connected, where the power coming in, I've connected that to the top. Possibly if I connect it to the bottom, it might keep it off, and when you only switch it on, then it will actually come on with the switching it on, and be off when it's you know, off. Otherwise it just becomes a draining source. But yeah, ultimately now we've got a little switch where we can switch our printer on and off in the front, and we don't have to go fiddle in the back. But we also haven't you know, fiddled with the actual printer workings and cabling. So especially I think this is very useful in case you have a printer that's still under warranty and you don't want to fiddle with the wiring to avoid your warranties. This is probably a good solution to get your switch to the front of the printer. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Pop some comments through, like and share this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye. Just one last thing I wanted to show you. In actual fact, I don't know if you can see, but basically what I've done is I've swapped these cables around like I explained. I've brought the power in on the bottom, and I've taken the out one on the top, and with that now this actual switch is off. So when you actually switch it on, the light goes on, and there's then no additional power drain. You know, when you obviously away from the PC. Plus, you can now actually see with the light. The light doesn't shine continuously, so you can actually now see is the printer on or off. So yeah, it's just important that you bring in your power at the bottom, and then take your out on the top. So I've switched it off now. And the one other thing I've done as well is that I have added a little cable tie, as I mentioned previously, which I forgot, is to cable tie these two cables together. And basically now the whole print is done. I'll just be putting it back in one go, and then we're all good. Thanks for watching.